when your child is experiencing suicidal ideation, that is the most terrifying feeling as a parent. And even when you do all the right things, we can still lose them. I thought I was covering all of my bases and doing all the things that I could, but there were some things I wish I had done differently. But so when your child is experiencing suicidal ideation, read these are nine tips for this. Read the article by the Pacific Medical Group in the description. That article explains a lot that will help you understand where it's coming from and possible solutions, how to approach it. Number 2, connect with a therapist that has experience working with self-harming and suicidal youth. It's so much easier now with the internet and post-COVID having access to online therapy, so you'll have a better chance of connecting with someone who has that experience now than when I lost Lily. So if you are considering medication, work with a psych nurse. Don't just listen to your doctor. Don't just listen to your therapist. Work with a psych nurse or a psychiatrist if you can afford one or one is accessible to you. But work with a psych nurse, because they may not need to have medication forever, but for right now to stabilize, they might. But that's something you need to talk with your psych nurse about. Connect your child with supportive and loving groups and activities. Being involved helps us feel connected. I didn't push Lily to be involved enough. I wish I had done more in that realm. It was very difficult because she wasn't interested in any of the options that we had. But I wish I had pushed a little harder on that, because that time connecting with others helps us feel more connected, and it helps us feel more woven into life. And if your child is LGBTQ and they do not feel safe at school, do research on your school. Depending on where you're at, look at the maps. I'll include the maps link, but look at the maps link. If you're in a red state, your school's probably not doing the right things, and they're actively doing things that probably harm your kid. If you are in a blue city, right? But if you're in a red state, state regulation can hinder what they can do in a blue city if you're in a red state. So know where you live, know what the rights are, know what the protections are. That maps link has lots of different information that you can find that all there. And if your kid is struggling, not up for the fight, and they are not feeling safe at school, and things are not good in terms of that actually changing, or something that they're not addressing it appropriately, which most schools are not. So be willing to pull your kid out and homeschool them and find a way if you have to. I wish I had done this. This is something that one of my biggest mistakes was not pulling my kid out of school. And the schools are toxic. They continue to be toxic in Utah. Some places, some parts of the state are doing better than others, but there's a lot of regression that occurs. So it is not a safe place to be. So consider homeschooling or moving. If you have an LGBTQ kid and they're struggling at all, not up for the fight, move to a place where they will be safer. I wish I had moved. I didn't feel like I could. I wish I had found a way. So, determine how and what your kid likes to focus on, how their brain is. What do they like to focus on most? Use the senses, right? Are they auditory? Are they visual? Are they tactile with touch? Are they very olfactory, like taste and smell oriented? Figure out which way, and then find the things within that. Like if it's visual, what does your kid's brain like to look at? What really holds their attention? Or what do they like to listen to? what really grabs their attention. Figuring that out and working with your kid to figure that out will help them develop this as a tool to interrupt when they start feeling those feelings arising, that they can interrupt it, and then you can work on tools for bringing back into calm. But the key is interrupting. Some things to try if you're not, until you're sure, try the dancing the cingulate. You could listen to it or read through the brain exercise. I will have those up very soon. Read through the brain exercise. Go through it with your kid. So teach them that moving focal point. And if it connects with them, cool. Teach them that and have them use that. Teach them how to use their breath and see if they can connect with breath as a way of interrupting. This can be through seeing it as a color, seeing it as an illumination moving into and out of the body, getting brighter and dimmer. Use physical context, right? Like the chest rising and falling, the ribs expanding and contracting, the belly expanding and contracting. You can use any of those physical cues. There's breath pacers, if there's like box breathing and all these different ways of breathing. If one of those really connects with your kid, have them practice that often so that their brain knows when they're doing that, it's interrupting. You can use your hand, right? Tracing your hand up and down. That's another physical cue. And for people who are tactile with touch, that can be a way of connecting breath with touch. You can also, with those physical contexts, you can have your hand on your body to feel those changes and those physical movements of breath. But that's one that we always have with us, and I think it's important to have tools that we just have in our head, that we don't have to turn to something outside for or pay for or whatever. Educate yourself and your child about the nervous system and the vagus nerve and the role that they play, the way they interact, what the different states are, hyperarousal, hypoarousal, what that looks like, what it feels like in the body. Have your kid begin to track and determine those messages from the body, what they're feeling, right? Tightness, constriction, nausea, flittery, tingly, whatever they're feeling, where in the body. Using that, help them identify what part of which state of the nervous system and nervous system arousal they're in those moments. And then, that when they notice that they've been activated, then they can turn to that focus tool to interrupt. And then you can work on other tools for shifting back into calm, right? Like using mindfulness practices, the anchoring bilateral, anchoring you into your unshakable center through your vagus nerve, being the mindful mountain, breathing the tree of life. Those are just some things you could teach, see if your kid can do as a meditation or just as a brain exercise. If they don't connect with it, that's fine. Don't use it. There's other tools that are more passive, and this can be helpful with young people, partly because of brain development and awareness. So there's Binaural Beats. You can go to the other tools and resources. I'll try and put the link for the iAwake. There's lots of stuff out there saying it's, vagus nerve tuning or binaural beats, but they're not. These were actually crafted by neuroscientists, and they entrain your brain to specific brain waves. They sound weird. They're pulses and taps and tones and weird things, right? You have to use earbuds. So that's a tool that you have to have something for, right? You have to use earbuds. But read through the free descriptions. Only choose the 6 free tracks. Read through the descriptions and go through it with your kid, right? And be like, okay, so how are you feeling? How do you want to feel? Those descriptions help you pick which one based on what your goal is, how you want to feel, or what you're needing. And then using your buds, listen to them. And you can do something else while you're listening, as long as it's not stress-inducing, right? Like sometimes people will wash dishes or pull weeds or draw or whatever, as long as it's not creating stress. So play with binaural beats because those can be helpful. There's brainwave entrainment programs. You can spend a whole lot of money if you have it and want to, and if so, great, lucky you. Go explore brainwave entrainment. Mind Alive systems, I recommend those if you're going to put some money into something. A cheaper option is a TINS unit and an ear clip. The my level 3 small research study is a link for that is included, and that within that has the links to tells you how to set it, video to how to adjust it. TINS units are typically, we know of those for our muscles, but you can attach it to an ear clip to connect with the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve comes to the outside of the body through the ear. So this is one of the only places you can access it from the outside and so of the body. So you attach the clip on your ear. There's a couple different places, but there's like more of a web of them coming through in here. So you can attach that. It is passive. Again, you can have that on while you're doing something else, as long as it's not stress inducing. But it's very subtle. And so for people who are not maybe as attuned to what is going on in their body, they may not notice much change, but it does work to shift you out of that crisis state, out of the hyper or the hypo, and brings you back into the ventral vagal. So watch that, read through that presentation, the PowerPoint. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I have helped numerous families with youth who are struggling, and I'm here to support you as the parent because I know I've been through the end of how terrifying it is when they're in that state and when they're living with that. And I know the other end of the horrible outcome. And so take your kids' devices at night. You won't regret it. That'll be one of the hardest things that they give you. They might fight with you over, but take their devices at night and monitor social media. Try not to let them on there until they're 16, at least. It's a horrible place. And there's lots of bad things on there. It's also a way that kids connect with their friends. So if your kid's going to do that, then you check their phone and monitor what they're doing and what they're seeing, what they're, all of that stuff. Just be like, that's just how it has to be, is that you're going to monitor that. So, and take their device, buy them an alarm clock. Lily, that's one thing I did not do. Granted, Lily died during, if you saw Social Dilemma, during that spike in teenage suicides, right? She was literally one of those numbers. And so watch that movie if you haven't seen it, but I did not take her devices at night. She was not allowed to have a Facebook account. I did not know that she had set up a fake one. I wasn't checking her stuff. We were running into lots of battles over that, and I wasn't. So check your kids' stuff and just say, look, I know you're going to be mad at me and it feels intrusive, but I am doing this because I love you and I want to keep you safe. And just remember, their brains are not developed. They will not be developed until they are at least 25, 27. So very much I feel like some of what I lost Lily was an accident, right? An accident of like a horrible car crash, because it's these tools, this exposure to things that like I had no idea how much was out there. And at the time it was harder to also prevent access. That's gotten easier. So talk to your phone company, do some research on like how, with your kind of phone or your kid's phone, how to monitor and keep restrictions on their access and ability to search certain things with their phone. So educate yourself on that. But that's something that I wish I would have done, that I cannot change now, but I can try and help you as a parent make sure that you're doing all the things that you can. And that's one thing I didn't know how to do that right at the time, but this was almost a decade ago now. So there's more out there. Turn to all those tools, turn to your supports, have therapy for yourself, because this is the most terrifying feeling that you're going through and terrifying experience that you're going through. And so make sure you're supporting yourself as well. And cut out anything that you can that is taking your time and attention away. Even though our kids as teenagers tend to try to do the differentiation, rejecting us, they just cut out anything you can so that you're just there and available, because they need that. And reach out if you want some support, some help, any nuances, any tweaks, or any information about any of these neuro tools for this, and I'd be happy to talk with you. So, you can get through this, but you will need to draw in all of the supports that you can, and you'll have to deal with some very difficult things and maybe some very difficult decisions to keep your kids safe and to keep them alive. But you won't regret it, because you may not know if a move is really what ended up saving your kid, but you sure won't regret not doing it if you lose them, if you have moved. So just know that this is a really difficult thing to navigate, and turn to people who know and to people who have experienced this. Turn to professionals and to therapists that have experience with this and understand it, and especially with that age group. So reach out if you need some help or support or some tweaking of some things to figure out what's going to be the best tool.